Once upon a time, in the faraway land of Russia, a boy named Vladimir Prov was born, and Vladimir grew up to state the theory that all fairy tales have the same underlying structure, stating also that they contain the same 8 broad characters, including a princess, the character who the hero deserves throughout the story, but is unable to marry because of an unfair evil. The hero's journey is often ended when he marries the princess, thereby beating the villain. However, throughout the changing magical, social, and media world, Vladimir was soon proven wrong in the faraway land of Disney World, in the country of America, where the role of the princess had evolved throughout time, separating herself from the princess stereotype. But where the story of evolution begins is with the birth of Snow White in 1937. With flawless pale white skin, rose-red lips, and ebony black hair, she was surely the fairest of them all. Snow White was born in a time where women were starting to rebel against their domestic role, given the right to vote, trying to start a profession. But Snow White's creator Walt Disney did not agree with this, a political conservative with traditional American values. So through the loving nurturing of Disney, Snow White was born with the hope of becoming the best housewife she could be, being the motherly figure to the 7 dwarf men. Her one goal was to be carried away by a prince, rescued from the evil queen. And of course her perfection was completed, marrying the prince, living happily ever after. In 1950, a new princess was given birth to, Cinderella. She was slender with white and fair skin, with light Titian hair and twinkling blue eyes. She was the perfection of beauty, unable to stand up to her evil stepmother. Her only goal was to go to the ball, do the right thing, and to marry the prince. Her creator, Walt Disney, was very proud of her for this. He encouraged the sublime goodness of heterosexuality and domesticity after the nightmare of World War II, a time where women started to obtain careers more easily. He hoped to communicate through his prime and willing beauty Cinderella that female happiness lied in domestic vocations, as did the many other men of the nation. Cinderella was thankfully saved, of course, by her prince and lived happily ever after. And just a few years later, the beautiful Sleeping Beauty, Aurora, was awakened into this earth. Also in the aftershock of World War II, a slender, white and fair-skinned girl with blue purplish eyes and blonde hair, she resembled her close friend Cinderella. She was given the important gifts of beauty, virtue, wealth, and wisdom by 11 fairies as a baby. Her one goal was, of course, to be a good princess and to marry her long-lost Prince Philip. And so the prince saved Aurora, and they lived happily ever after. Also, then, down in the deep, deep blue sea, the Princess Ariel was born in 1989, unable to be influenced by the original princess creator Walt Disney due to his death, and so a new group of men was put in the place of Walt, a turning point signaling a new openness. Ariel rebels against the norm of her father, aspiring to grow intellectually, and strives to achieve action. She embraces having a mind of her own, her one goal to become human and be with the precious Prince Eric. Ariel was living in a time where women reached record proportions in the participation in military services, able to break through the feminine barrier. Of course, Ariel soon marries the human Prince Eric and is saved from the evil Ursula. However, she herself saves Eric in the battle at one point, breaking into combat like the many women around her. And as time moved along, the Princess Belle was soon born in 1991. A slender and beautiful girl with both brown hair and eyes, fair white skin, with an effortlessly rosy complexion and red lips. But Belle was very different from her previous princesses. The goal that she pursued was not a prince, but rather to somehow leave her provincial life to pursue a world of adventure, such as the one she reads in her books. Born in the era of the ongoing third-wave feminism, rather than falling in love with a prince at first sight, Belle falls in love with a hidden prince, the Beast, over time. Belle falling in love with his personality rather than his appearance. She would never judge a book by its cover. Then in 1992, only a year later, came Princess Jasmine. But Princess Jasmine was not white, rather she had darker tanned olive skin, Arab in culture. She was slender with long black hair and wide brown eyes. Her goal was to marry someone for love, not title, and to get outside of the palace and see the world. For she too was born in the time of third-wave feminism, a time that was created for not only gender acceptance, but rather focused on cultural acceptance also. So Jasmine grew to be headstrong, tomboyish, self-confident, free-spirited, intelligent, brave, adventurous, and even stubborn. The daughter of a sultan, she refused to marry a wealthy prince. Rather, she wanted the poor Aladdin as her husband. Then came Pocahontas 3 years later in the year 1995. Pocahontas was a noble, brave, adventurous, and outspoken girl. Her goal was to restore a peaceful relationship between her native tribe and John Smith's settlers. With slender, long, coal-black hair, brown eyes, fairly tanned skin, and bright red lips, she represented the diverse culture of the Native Americans. She was accepted in this time of third-wave feminism, but also she was in a time where a Native American's culture was embraced and encouraged when the Native American Language Act was created. The Native American language finally able to be shared. Rather than one potential love, the gender roles reversed as 2 men pined for her love. In the end, Pocahontas lives happily ever after with the handsome white male John Smith in England. A short time had passed, and the Princess Mulan soon came to be in 1998. A slender and beautiful girl with long black hair, rosy cheeks, and pink lips, she represented an Asian background, accepted in the ongoing third-wave feminism era. Her goal was to somehow return honor to her family by successfully taking her father's place in the war. She was the first of the princesses to take on the role of a man, literally by dressing up as one. Mulan's role as a soldier was encouraged, as many women around her were given more options in the military. In 1992, the restriction banning American servicewomen from flying in an aircraft engaged in combat missions was lifted, and in 1993 they lifted the restriction banning women from serving aboard combat vessels. Mulan also finds love in a strong male soldier, however their fate is unrevealed. The last princess who was created, for now, lives in the current 2000s, born in 2009, is Tiana. Tiana is a smart, determined, motivated, experienced girl, slender and beautiful with black hair, large brown eyes, a dark complexion, and red lips. She is the first African-American princess accepted in a time of cultural diversity, among many other things. At the time of Lady Gaga and her diverse monsters. A hard-working waitress, a courier she keeps to earn an income. She has the goal of opening her own restaurant, no prince in her foreseen future. She is not portrayed as perfect, learning many lessons to help her grow. He soon does fall for the Prince Naveen, a man with an unknown cultural background, and becomes a princess. And so this story ends. Through these 9 princesses, an obvious change, through the many social changes around them, is seen. In the faraway land of Disney World, a beautiful growth is shown, defining the many ages of history. With the magic of Disney, anything is possible.